and not the 25th of December. Furthermore, Jeremiah wrote of this long before the first Advent. Read Deuteronomy 7, 1 through 6, where we are told what to do with these groves and the heathen nations that adhere to these pagan customs. We are not to be like the other nations of the earth. We are to come out from among them. Read 2 Corinthians 6, 14 through 18. Yahweh the Christ came to fulfill the law and the prophets. Read Matthew 5, 17 through 20. Now ask for them to take down their tree and decorations, and they say no. And some even become hostile, and therefore bear witness against themselves as to the worship of idols. Read Ezekiel 31 to further verify the tree and who it represents. And it would be wise to read Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28, Revelation 12, 1 John 3:12, and Jude verse 6. You know what? Read Revelation 18 as well. I want to tell you a story. When I was 5 years old, I found out that Santa was a big lie. And I went inside to ask my mother if what I was told is true. And she said, "Well, what do you think?" As I stood confused and thought, why would my parents lie to me? Santa must be real. So finally my mother looks at me, pointing her finger, saying, "There is no Santa, but don't you tell your sister." Now, not only was I lied to for the first 5 years of my life, but now I'm being told to lie to my sister. Anyway, the point I am trying to make is that believing in an all-knowing fat man that flies around the world in one night, knows when you're good or bad, will in many cases confuse the children between fact and fiction, and in turn will shy away from believing in the Almighty Yahweh. Someone asked me one time, if all the customs are false and are pagan, then why do so many believe and follow them? I said we accept the life in which we are presented. What strikes me as odd is we get in trouble as a child if we tell a lie. But the adults who teach that Santa and the Ishtar bunny is real get away with it. Or at least they think they do. Now, the word man in Genesis chapter 1:26 is the Hebrew word Enosh and means a manufactured or created being from the substance round about. And Cain also being rendered or can also be rendered Shivya, that being a bite beast. This Enosh is of the 6th age creation, otherwise known as the Negro and Asiatic, who were made on other planets and later came to Earth. Some of these Negroes had even manned the ships in a second attempt to rebel, but failed, of course, because of dissension in the ranks. Beelzebub and Voodoos attempted to overthrow Setaniel and was put back in line and was forced to bow down before him. I think it was Voodoos that was a little more defiant, but can't remember offhand. Okay, in Genesis 2 verse 5 is the first time Adam is mentioned under the term man. Although this word man is the Hebrew word Adam, which means of a ruddy fair complexion, to turn rosy, to show blood in the face, and was formed, not created, in the singular, not plural, like the Enosh was in Genesis chapter 1 through 26 and 28, as male and female. When reading Genesis chapter 2 verse 5 through 7, be aware that Adam had already fallen from grace and lost his body of light, or Shekinah glory. As I said earlier, Genesis chapter 1, 3 through 5 is speaking of the children of light and those that rebelled with Setaniel For Genesis 1 verse 2 says the earth was without form and void, meaning chaotic. The Hebrew is tahi vabahi and comes from Numbers 84:14 and 9:22. This is again verified in Jeremiah 4 verses 19 through 31. Now remember Genesis 1 through 14, or Genesis chapter 1, 14 through 18, speaks of the luminaries in the cosmos. Most people don't realize that verses 3 through 5 and verses 14 through 18 are speaking of two separate times and things. Verses 3 through 5 pertains to us, the children of light, and the children of darkness. This can be confirmed in Revelation 12, where Seteniel took a third of the stars of heaven into battle, as well as by Paul's letter in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, 4 through 6. Keep in mind that this all took place in the heavens, and that Adam did not set foot on this planet until after Seth was born, maybe even later than the birth of Seth, which may account for their long lifespan up until the time of Noah and the flood, when Yahweh made a condition that we would not live past the age of 120 years. Did you know that our solar system didn't always look like this, or look the way it does now? The battle in the heavens was so bad that planets were destroyed in the process, and this is in the time of what some are familiar with as Gilgamesh. Anyway, this battle was horrific. And in between Mars and Jupiter, we have the remains of one such destroyed planet, and is now our solar system's largest asteroid belt. It might be the planet Marduk, or may be called Rahab. Not positive on the names, but we do know that there was originally 12 planets, and maybe even a 13th planet, which may clear up the extra name. Isaiah 51 verse 9. The other planet orbits between Neptune and Uranus, and I believe it was called Tiamat, which means maiden of life. The original sin took place in the heavens and was of a sexual nature, which was a violation of kind after kind. Adam mixed with the tree of which Yahweh told him not to touch, or Naga. This racial tree was the angelic kind of which we don't belong. We are a higher order. Read Matthew 13:24 through 30 and 37 through 44 again, and note that it explains what took place in the field, or the universe. Cain was the product of this seduction, and if we read 1 John 3:12, we find it tells us that Cain's daddy is Seteniel, not Adam. If you turn to Genesis chapter 3, you can read more on this account of race mixing. And in verse 15 of Genesis 3, Yahweh tells us that there will be two seed lines that will forever be at war until all be fulfilled. And then the children of darkness will burn in the fire, and the children of Yahweh will shine forth as the sun, and give light to all the universe, and the inhabitants that will be restored to their proper order and planets of where they originate from. Only those creations that remain pure and that have not mixed the bloodline will attain total restoration. If it wasn't for the elect, Yahweh would destroy all things. Whatever Yahweh did not plant will be rooted up. Race mixing is breaking the law of kind after kind. Kind after kind is a law. It is a biological law for all creations that Yahweh made, and was not just for Adam or for the angels. The punishment for such a crime is death. And in all cases, besides the fall of Adam and the suffering of death, we read of one such instance in Genesis chapter 6 with the story of Noah and the flood. I want to make clear that the